This is Eugenia Mitchell, host of At Home with the Mitchells. Thanks for listening to the following podcast on Public House Media.
Hey, you're listening to Let's Hustle with Lee and Chelsea. Hey, everybody. I can't help it. Lee makes fun of me for saying that.
That's her catchphrase.
But it's like my thing, so whatever. Welcome to this week's episode of Let's Hustle. We have a really cool guest today, but before we get to our amazing guest, Lee,
What's up?
how has your week been?
It's actually been pretty good.
Tell the people the good news we have. I'm going to cut you off.
Oh! I was like, what is it? Yo, you guys. We're trademarking Let's Hustle. And
Like officially.
like
So don't
officially.
infringe on us.
Don't infringe on us. It's done. It's literally in the process right now. It's getting done. We're so excited. I'm so grateful that it's happening. And we're not going to have to deal with issues.
Oh, sorry.
Hose again. And it'll be wonderful. So that's some exciting news.
Yeah, I think we're going to do a pod about trademarks.
I think that would be a great
And
idea.
we'll help all you people out.
Dude, we should honestly have the guy that did our stuff, Ben Becker, y'all.
Benjamin!
If you need a trademark or an IP lawyer, just Google him. He does like remote work too.
He's
and
great.
He has been
Very
a
reasonably
freaking
priced.
angel, reasonably priced, so easy to work with, explains everything like in layman's terms. He's been crazy responsive.
Wonderful.
Absolutely love good
Add
old.
me on LinkedIn today.
Yeah, go add him on LinkedIn. It's Benjamin Becker.
Benjamin.
So yeah, he's an angel. Check him out. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I've been trying to clean a lot.
Your house is really clean. I picked up an apple chip from the floor and ate off it.
Thank you.
I didn't eat off the floor, but I ate the chip off the floor.
Right, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started Weight Watchers this week because I'm an old lady.
I just have one question.
Yes.
We are sitting in Lee's room on her bed, and behind Lee is a purple shovel.
Oh, yeah.
Why is there a shovel in your bedroom?
Okay, so that is the shovel so I don't care, I can say this now because I don't work for them anymore. Lou City, that is a groundbreaking shovel that all the owners got to break the ground at the new stadium, and one of the owners forgot it, so I snatched it. So I don't know whose it is, but I own it. And now I leave it there because if an intruder comes in our house, they're never going to expect me to have a shovel, so they're not going to be looking for it. And
That's
it's
true.
dark, so I can just swipe over and grab the shovel and hit him in the head with it. So
Okay.
It's a defense weapon and stolen property. So 2 for
Perfect.
1. So that's why I have a shovel beside my bed. And it's large. It's like 5.5 feet tall.
I think you should frame it and use it as motivation, and underneath you should tagline it, "You can't hold me down."
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. What do I have to use it?
Don't bury me.
Don't bury me.
Don't bury me in your negativity.
Or do bury me and
Or
I'll rise from the
yeah.
ashes like a phoenix.
Yeah. Call it your phoenix sword or shovel.
Right, for sure.
Okay, I like that.
No, that made sense.
Anyways, I've interrupted you 3 times now.
No,
so.
that's it. I've trademarked Weight Watchers. What I've got going on this week. How about you?
Actually, quite a few things.
Ooh.
So, Caroline the Divine and I,
My
Partnered.
angel. I love her.
so wonderful. We
Yes.
partnered on a course, mastermind course, called The Blissful Babe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you for this.
So we're getting everything launched. We're running all of our everything at the end of this week, and it's going to launch in June.
Dude, that's huge because I think that's something that you've been wanting to do for a long time, and now it's actually happening. And like you're so bomb at sales, girl, and like you really could like just teach people like your ways, which I think is so. There's so many sales courses out there that are so boring
Douchey.
and dumb and douchey, and they're all so like masculine energy,
So masculine.
you know. And I think that your
Girls are way better at selling things. We just don't know how to do it.
Exactly. And I think that your approach is so easy and relatable, and I think that it's going to make women in this industry kick more ass than ever before. So
make you hoes make money.
yes, I love you.
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy for
Ditto.
you.
That's pretty much it. really.
Nice.
That's all I got for you.
Oh, good.
But
Awesome.
that's been a lot, so.
It has been a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Without further ado,
we have an amazing guest on our show today. We have Kayleigh, who is like one of my best friends. She was my hairdresser in LA. And also, funny story, do you want to know how we met?
oh, tell me.
So I was a bartender at this bar, literally, that was attached, like almost attached by like 10 yards to the salon that she worked at. We'd never met. And I was a brunette. I'm naturally a brunette. And I'd wanted to dye my hair red for like so long. And this girl came in, and you'll see her photo that we'll post. Like, she has the most beautiful natural red hair of all time. And I was talking to her, and I was like, can I take a picture of your hair? Because it's so beautiful and gorgeous, and that's the exact color red that I want. And she was like, well, where are you going to get your hair done? I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm just going to like find somebody. She was like, you idiot, I'm a hairdresser, and I literally specialize in red hair. And I was just like, oh my God. And then she told me her name, and it was Kayleigh. K, my mom's name, Leigh, my name. And I was like, this is meant to be, and we're gonna be best friends now. And now she literally lives here in Louisville, like right beside me, and it's just like we're literal twin flames. So I'm obsessed with her, and I'm so happy that she got to be on our pod today. she's sitting beside us while we're doing this intro. She's hearing me talk about her. Yeah, so I'm excited for you guys to hear about her career and what she does, because she's incredible and is a career role model of mine.
And just a little carrot to dangle, we do talk a little bit about true crime.
We talk about murder at the end. Stay tuned. And it was a great conversation.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't. Awesome. Yep. Well, without further ado, here is our wonderful interview with Kayleigh. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Hustle podcast, formerly Girl Hustle podcast. Now we're Let's Hustle podcast. This is Lee, here with Chelsea, and today on our show we have an incredibly special guest who is one of my best friends in the entire world. We have my personal hairstylist, Kayleigh, with us. Kayleigh has been one of my closest friends for a long time now. I met her in Los Angeles. Whenever I lived out there. She is an incredible hairstylist. She has a wonderful, just like entertaining, informative social media page, which we're huge fans of. And we thought that it would be really cool and kind of interesting to have her on today, to have her talk about like how she's staying relevant right now, because newsflash, hair salons are closed. Yeah. So hey, welcome to the show, girl.
Thanks. I'm so excited to record with you guys.
I know, finally.
I know. It's like, when are they going to ask me?
I feel like dumb that we've talked about it so many times, but every week we just like, our brains go elsewhere. So
you guys have a lot of interesting people to get through too. So
we do. That is
You're definitely on the list.
Yeah, absolutely you are.
Yeah, but I get to listen to other people too, so that's kind of fun.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll start with a little background on you. Kind of tell us, where you came from, why you started doing hair, in the beginning stuff. So I grew up outside of Los Angeles. I actually grew up in the Valley.
Were you a Valley girl?
I'm a real Valley girl.
Oh, real Valley girl.
Through and through.
Okay, girl.
My whole family's from California, so I've actually never left. Me being in Kentucky now is the first time I've ever been farther than 30 miles outside of Los Angeles. So it's very strange. It's an adjustment.
Yes.
I kind of landed in hair on accident, and also it makes perfect sense, but I have always loved doing it, and I, out of high school, decided to try working in the music industry and try working at Nordstrom, which was a terrible idea. And I kind of tried everything, and my mom one day went, "You've always liked doing hair. Why don't you get into that industry? Why don't you go to school? It's something consistent. It's a trade." And so I did it. And as soon as I got into school, I was like, oh, duh, this makes perfect sense for me. I love it. It's the first time I've ever thrived in any sort of environment that was learning, because it's creative and it's fun and it's connection to humans, and all the things I wanted in all of those other industries kind of meshed into one, where I'm my own boss, which is a huge plus for me.
Absolutely.
So.
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I know that you are, like, I would say that you're like a color specialist, right?
For sure.
Would you consider
Oh.
yourself
For
as
sure.
that?
Yeah.
How did that come about, and how did you just figure out, like, yo, this is my freaking knack?
That's such a good question. I've really never thought of how to answer that.
Well, think about it now.
Yeah, no, I think it was the thing that clicked for me right away was color. It's, like I said, I've always liked art and I've always liked fashion, and I think hair color is the one thing that, even if your hair's thrown up in a ponytail, you can see it. And there's nothing kind of cooler than going, I'm going to mix together these 5 colors that nobody's thought of, or other people I'm sure have thought of, and make it my own on a client. And there's nothing structured about it. It's all creative. Whereas cutting is definitely creative, but you can definitely feel boxed in sometimes, especially by trend. Color has always felt much more like free and messy, which is how I'd like to describe myself.
Yes.
Not really, but
No, I
But no,
love
it's-
that comparison. That makes so much sense and is literally like a direct comparison of you.
yeah, definitely.
messy.
And also, I think coming from Los Angeles, I'm not doing it so much out here, but there I was very much so in the creative color world, so more fantasy shades. And even that, I really made an intention not to have it look like somebody plopped a wig on top of your head with one shade top to bottom. I really wanted it to look like if you were going to have pink hair or green hair, it grew out of your head that way. So nobody that's a natural blonde has one solid shade of hair.
Yeah.
So I always wanted
Absolutely.
color to feel that way too.
That's awesome.
I love that. And like your color, like you guys can go to her Instagram page, which is at Kayleigh Irene Hair, and it's Kayleigh, like me. It's spelled like me and my mom, because she's now in my family. And but
So it's like the TikTok. Lee's your mom, Kay's your mom.
yep, exactly.
Kayleigh.
It
Yeah,
is.
here we are.
But yeah, if you go to her Instagram, like you can see, like truly your color looks so freaking bomb. And I've never like heard it explained that way, but it truly like looks like someone's hair grew out purple and then
Yeah.
like had like green highlights in it, or like it's
Yeah.
so bizarre, and you're just so talented, and I love
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun.
Nice. So kind of tell us about transitioning career-wise from Los Angeles to Louisville, because I'm sure that's been a big change and kind of an adjustment, and having to rebuild up your clientele, because
Yeah.
this girl had an incredible amount of clients in LA, and I mean was doing incredible, and had like clients of like names that you would recognize if we said them out loud, you know? And so kind of explain to us how that adjustment has been.
What a humbling experience. Moving has been, Lee's right. I mean, in Los Angeles, I was booked, person over person, like 3 people at a time, a lot of the time. And coming out here, I kind of had to start fresh. Nobody knows who I am. I'm not some huge person on Instagram. Coming to a new city, I don't have friends here. My family's back home. So it was truly starting back from square one. And going back to how it felt in Los Angeles when I first started doing hair was just kind of like, please pick me, you know? Mm-hmm. You don't have a leg to stand on. And I think the way that I feel about hair, and honestly most services, is that your best marketing are the people that have already come to you. Mm-hmm. And it takes a long time to build relationships with people to the point where they go, you have to go see her, you know? Because there's tons of people that have given good hair. Like, everybody's had a great haircut, and people go, I love your haircut. And they go, oh, thanks. Like, it takes a very kind of human connection-based hair appointment for someone to go, I love your haircut, and the person to respond, you have to go see my girl, which is my biggest thing with marketing. It's never been about just the hair. It's human to human. And so being out here, I made a really conscious effort to connect with people, you know, square one. I'm not just trying to be your hairdresser. I also kind of need friends. So, so it would be nice to connect with people on a human level, deeper than just, you know, what length, what color, boom, bye. So moving out here, it's been a lot of marketing myself into groups of friends, and I'm grateful I've gotten a lot of those referrals, but this pandemic kind of started at a terrible time for me.
Oof, yeah.
I was already, just starting fresh, and I have been continuing to travel back to Los Angeles once a month. And so obviously that's had to cancel through this, and all of my building clientele out here has been on a big pause. So remaining relevant, like you guys were talking about, has been even more important.
Absolutely. What are you doing to remain relevant or trying to do. Not trying. What are you doing?
I'm putting a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
So I started doing tutorials on my Instagram page, and I think one thing about that is my production value is not obviously going to be as high as somebody who's a career vlogger. But one thing I thought about when I started doing them was I feel more comfortable reaching out to you, Chelsea, knowing you and going, oh, hey, I like your eyeshadow. What do you use? And I'm confident that you would most likely respond. Right. But if I reach out to somebody who's on YouTube with 3,000 followers and I say, what was that bobby pin you used or whatever, their likelihood of responding is so low. Mm-hmm. So I felt like what I could create on my own page was something that was more easy to connect with for my clients and their friends. And so I started doing that. And I actually stopped doing hair, I think a week before we were actually like mandatory forced out of the salon, and right away I went, okay, I have to come up with something so that people remember me and remember my face, because I do think one thing that's going to come of this pandemic is a lot of people are going to reset what their normal was. And I've had people reach out to me and say, now's the time to find a new hairstylist because maybe they weren't connecting super well before, or, now that you've had all this time, you're starting to go, okay, well, what can I explore now? Mm-hmm. And so for me, I think maintaining some sort of connection and making sure I respond to people. And if you have a question, like, I will answer you right away. You can ask me something you think is so dumb or not even relevant to my career, and I will answer you.
Yeah.
Just to try to make sure that I'm kind of continuing on with those relationships and really nurturing them and making sure that people feel still connected to when it's hard to connect through all of this.
Yeah, that's so important. And Chelsea and I talk about that all the time, especially with Chelsea's role in sales. It's so much more about you as a person connecting with the other person that is your client or that you're selling to, rather than the actual product itself. Now, obviously, you can't just be a nice person and like suck at hair, but like,
totally,
but if you're good, it's taking you from good to great whenever you have that human connection and you actually care about the person.
Yeah,
because
totally.
It's like people want the experience of getting their hair done, not like go in, do my roots, peace out.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's one thing you have to be really conscious of too when you start to get busier. When I was in Los Angeles and I was so stacked with clients, one thing I would notice from other hairdressers was that if you get that busy, you start to just slap on a root color. It is very procedural and kind of in, out, leave, done. You lose that part of you. So I started to become really conscious of who I was booking together. And I used to joke that I was kind of creating these like little parties, like I was hosting a party. So I made sure that my clients that were all grouped together were, had something in common. They were writers, they were, directors or editors, and I made sure that we all had something in common and that it felt like we were all hanging out. It has, one-on-one, it needs to feel that way, but especially when you get into that level of, grouping people together. And that applies to, I think, all careers, like even yours. Mm-hmm. You're kind of hosting a party. One-on-one, you need to be the person that they go, oh, I love seeing them. They're so interesting. They're so fun. Or I always leave and I feel like I had a warm hug. Or
you have to give it like an experience.
Totally, exactly.
In everything you do, because people are so hard to please. So you have to make it like
and
exciting,
it's oversaturated,
and fun and different.
Yes, it's oversaturated. I think, especially now with social media and stuff, like, there are so many hairdressers, and it's really easy to look really good on the internet.
Yeah.
It's really hard to create a memorable experience in person. Like, that takes a lot more effort than taking a really great photo and putting it on the internet. So, it's kind of finding the balance between the two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that's where I thrive, is the in-person versus, like, online.
Oh, same. 100%.
I'm like, I have the best idea. I'll be prepping myself to what I'm going to do online, and then I go online, I'm like,
yeah, I definitely get rambly.
Same, but like in person, I'm like,
I'm on point.
Hey, girl.
Yeah,
it's that dog energy y'all got. I'm the exact opposite, where I'm just like a trash person in person, but I'm cool online.
Totally.
Sorry, our mic dropped. I'm sorry if you heard
Drop
that.
The mic.
It was really our mic fell over. Yeah. I don't think that you're rambly, though. I think that your videos are very informative, and it's not like you're talking about nothing, though. Like, everything you're saying is important, and I want to listen to, and I want to hear out. So, you just give yourself one more credit on that.
It's hard, because I think of my attention span, which is like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, here's a 10-minute video on how to do a hair blowout, which, me as like before doing hair, I would have been like, hell yeah. But I'm sure I would have tuned out the speaking,
right.
2 minutes in. So I have to like be aware of people like me being on the internet and trying to make sure that when I'm saying something, it's important. But definitely go off the rails sometimes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's all right.
Now, we talked a little bit about you just kind of wanting to like build a community and build, sort of a space where people feel very comfortable talking to you. And like, I mean, even like the way you were booking clients in LA, you want to create little circles. Like, what do you think is like your end goal of being a hairdresser? Because you're still young, like you're in your 20s. You know, it's not like you're, this like old vet that hasn't really figured it out yet. You know, what is your ultimate goal?
So eventually, obviously, I'd like to open up something myself. When I started doing hair, I kind of fibbed with my first job. My previous boss, who hates when I call her my boss, but Rosie, the owner of the salon I work at in LA, she called me in for an interview. I basically reached out. My dentist told me about her hairdresser. It's just the most random story, but she told me her stylist had opened up a hair salon and that I should check it out. And so I sent them a DM on Instagram. This is like OG Instagram days, 7 years ago. And I said, I love your guys' work. If you would like a assistant or even just a receptionist, I really would love to like come work there, because they just looked so homey and cute, and the work they were doing was really good. And Rosie, the owner, reached out to me right away. And so she asked me, how long have you been doing hair? And I just bold-faced lied. I stretched the truth. So I had been in school for a year and a half, and then I left school and was doing hair for 6 months out of my garage that I had converted into a salon. And throughout that time in school, I actually was doing hair outside of school. I mean, I put 195% effort into like doing hair from day one. And so I said, 2 years.
Yes.
And she was like, okay. And she ended up having me come in and do a model, and she said, okay, well, you're not an assistant, you're a hairdresser. So she said, you want to work 2 days a week? And I almost crapped my pants. I was so excited. I could not believe it. And starting there at that salon, I mean, I very quickly felt at home there, like, which is hard to find in this industry. It's really, really hard to find a salon where you go in and you're like, this place is my family. This place is my friends. It's a super competitive industry. Mm-hmm. It takes a really strong business owner to create that environment where you have like a community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since leaving that salon, my current salon's great. I love it, but I definitely miss that warm hug that was the local. Mm-hmm. And I realize now I'm comparing them, and it's hard to do, because it's like leaving your childhood home.
Yeah.
Every house is going to feel super special, but nothing's going to have that like warm embrace.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've thought about is in the future, my goal is to open up my own salon, and I want to create that environment. I want to be like Louisville's Rosie. I want to have that, people come in and they're like, every stylist here knows me. And the owner always comes over and says hello, and you feel like you're not just tied into your hairdresser. You're a part of that space.
Yes.
Like, that is your friends. That is your, safe space. So
absolutely.
Eventually I'd like to open something up myself and have that kind of collective feeling of artists inspiring one another, and someday.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's so accurate and such a really good description of the local, because I felt like, even though like I just went to you, I felt like I knew every single stylist in there.
Yeah.
I knew about their lives. I cared about their babies. It's like I
cared. Totally.
You know what I mean? It was just like, you felt like every single person was your friend, and like
totally.
It was great.
And you have a really unique perspective of like having seen me transfer from the local to here. Mm-hmm. My current salon is so awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, the woman that owns it is a single mom, and she did it all by herself. Like, it's this beautiful space.
Yeah, it's Crescent Haircraft. I don't know if we've actually
Crescent Haircraft.
Yeah,
you should look it up.
Yeah, they're great.
And it's a beautiful space, and I think it's kind of cool that I found it. Mm-hmm. And it was another one of those weird kind of fortuitous, search on the internet, try to find somewhere that I felt like identified a brand that I vibed with. And, it's scary. I did it remotely. Like, we bought our house on the internet. I had to find a salon on the internet. Yeah. And as soon as I started messaging with the owner, I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is going to be good. Like, this is the perfect place for me. And so I'm lucky to have found that. I think coming out here, I could have ended up in Fantastic Sam's or, there's nothing wrong with Fantastic Sam's, but like, it's not my vibe.
Like coming from the local, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was scary. It was definitely scary coming from somewhere where I was like, this is home. I mean, I cried when I said goodbye to my family, but I like sobbed when I left my salon. And I went back 2 weeks later. I mean, I'm there all the time, but like, even when I go back now and I come back to Kentucky when I'm leaving, I'm just like, bye.
Oh, gosh.
It's your closing time in the back of my head when I walk out the door.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Gosh. What do you, because I feel like you are such a, like, motivated person. Like, I think that every day, like, you just have this incredible mindset. Even if you don't feel like doing something, you're so good at just putting stuff that you want to do into action. Like, what advice do you have for people who maybe are struggling with that, especially right now when motivation is
low,
very, very few and far between?
I think for me, like, staying motivated has been more of just me trying to nurture my creative side, because I think I've found myself in positions, in the past where I start to like lose momentum, and then I realize I'm so stagnant in what I'm doing. Like, I start going to the salon and I feel like I'm doing the same hair over and over, or in my relationships with my friends, I'm having these same really boring conversations and I'm not diving deep into what matters to me, which is creativity, your personal relationships, all of these things. And so definitely through this, I've realized I can get into like blend in with the couch mode, which is okay. Like, I think everybody needs to serve whatever makes them feel good. And some people, that's what they needed. They needed a hard reset and they needed to calm down. I am so the opposite. I am like,
just a little bit.
I land somewhere in between like 0 to 60 and like a steady 35 miles per hour. Like, I kind of try to like maintain some sort of creative endeavor every single day. And it could be really small. So it's like some days I'm going online and I'm just posting, here's a throwback of a hair I did 5 years ago, and to this day it's still my favorite. Or today I'm actually going to get up and do my hair and make a video and do whatever. And I think to stay creative and to stay motivated, do what you feel like you can that day. I feel like we force ourselves to like, I'm going to work out. It's like, if you don't have that in you, don't do it. Yeah. I know that sounds kind of like I'm encouraging being lazy, but do something, but do what you have the energy for. Because I feel like if you try to do something that's so gung-ho and you're not really in it, you give it like 30%. And then you're kind of still like, meh.
And you feel like crap about yourself because you only gave it 30%.
Totally. So
it's like, don't have such high expectations. And
that's
then you'll
exactly
feel
it.
So great.
Yeah, but like do something. I mean,
absolutely.
The other day, like it was Mother's Day and I was like, I need to be creative. Let's make a card. Like but something. Just motivate yourself to do something and do what you have the energy for.
Yep.
So I don't feel like you need to get out and be like, I'm doing a half marathon this Saturday. Like, no, if you have energy to like go for a walk with your dog or your cat, do it.
And a lot of times my friend Celia always talks about like how she's not like a motivated person, but she's the kind of person who just like closes her eyes and just like actions lead to results, which lead to motivation. And a lot of times if you can just like get up and just like close your eyes and press the 7 or 8 button on the treadmill, it's like once you just do it, you get motivated because you're in that moment and you do it. So like, let's say if you're like, you know what, I don't want to go for a walk, but I'm going to go for a walk. Most likely you get out for a walk and then like you might end up running.
Yeah.
Just
totally.
because like you got up and you did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's such a good point of like not setting high expectations and just doing something and letting your body.
A tiny expectation.
Or just celebrating that you did it. Be like, yes, I did it.
Well, and like I said, it's like some days I'm not, like I want to be motivated, but I'm not energetically there. So it's like if I'm feeling like I want to create something today, maybe it's just engagement. So maybe it's just that, like I said, I'm going to post a throwback photo and kind of try to engage with people through that. I don't feel like you have to put forth 110% of effort every single day. Like, I think that's a common misconception, and it's an easy way to really burn yourself out really fast, is to hold yourself to these expectations of like, let's coach, let's do all these things. And it's okay to just kind of do you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can relate with that.
Yeah. So our podcast is called Let's Hustle, but we're all about like, we kind of hate the word hustle.
I know, I almost said hustle and I stopped myself because hurt your feelings.
No, don't, because, well, we kind of make it a joke because
we like hustle. We just don't like how it's been presented.
We like to
redefine
it. And that's kind of what we want to do, is we really want to just redefine the word hustle, because it has been...
We just discovered ourselves.
Oh my God.
Dang.
Did we just do that right now with the help of Kayleigh? How crazy.
Well, I think, like, hustle, you know, personally, like, for me, like, to hustle is just to kind of put my energy behind where my brain wants to go that day, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think so many people take hustle as, like, let's hustle. Like, let's get out there and do this. And it's like, do what? Like, you have to have some sort of direct path that you're leaning towards, or at least, you know, working towards. And
don't be busy to be busy.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I think hustle a lot of the times for people is like, just get busy. And it's
Or,
like, no, have purpose. Hustle should be purpose.
Yes.
Not
And there's so many people that you'll see, especially in sales,
Oh my God,
that
it's
like want to look like they're hustling. So they'll do like a bunch of like nonsense, like just garbage. And I'm like, you ever heard that phrase, work harder or work smarter, not harder?
Yeah.
Well, you're an idiot.
Well,
Yes.
like in my industry too, I think one thing is like, I say like so much. I'm such a valley girl.
Don't.
That's all right.
We
We
do
do too. My husband's like,
I'm trying
you guys say like a lot. I'm, like,
I'm
what
trying
do
to
you
rein
mean?
it in.
Like what?
Like this? Like
It kills me when I say it that much. But in my industry, especially, I think obviously we've pushed a lot of our marketing towards the internet and towards Instagram, and that is in itself a hustle, right?
Oh,
It's creating just so much content and so much, like, it is oversaturated to the nines. There are so many people on there. It's really easy, like I said, to look like a great hairdresser and be mediocre. Mm-hmm. I mean, in real life, you can be a really mediocre hairdresser and put forth a lot of great content, and boom, you've got clientele. And to me, my intention on the internet has always been and will always be forever to create more, to engage more, and to stay relevant. I don't need to be 500,000 followers deep. I want to be the person that when people follow me, there's engagement. There's real connection there. And so I don't try to equate my hustle, you know, to the internet and to other people's perception. I think, like I said, my hustle is what progress I'm making behind the chair, and I don't need to shout from the rooftops every day that I had, 22 clients today. I'm just hustling, but like, that's not, it doesn't make me feel good. And I don't think it makes other people feel good either.
No, it does not. That's the thing. It does not make anybody feel good.
It's like shouting from the rooftops that you're doing more than other people.
Yes.
And I'm behind like the action part,
Totally.
Like, I want to see it, be like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, so when someone smells really good and you're like, man, you smell great. What are you wearing? Like,
Right.
that's what I want my hustle to be like. Damn, girl, nice
Like, you're
car.
killing
What do
it.
you
What
do?
do you do?
Teach
Totally.
me. That's what I want.
Totally.
I don't want to have to tell people. I don't
No.
want to have to tell people I have money. I want people to be like, that was rich. Like, what did you do? That's what I want. You
Yeah.
know?
I love it.
Actions speak louder than words.
Totally.
And people that like, I do all this and this and this, and I'm awesome and I'm great and I'm wonderful. I'm like, oh.
You don't need to advertise it
Yeah.
you?
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I connect with that so much right now.
Totally. And especially with the industry you're in, you don't need 500,000 followers to be a really successful and make a crap ton of money as a hairdresser.
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
it's like, are you going to have 500,000 clients? No. You
Yes,
know?
it does not, like, followers do not equate to dollars.
Absolutely.
And
not.
I think, especially in my industry, dollars doesn't equate to success. I know that's the opposite of what a lot of people think, but I would much rather make half the amount of money and have twice the amount of fulfillment in a creative industry than make a ton of money and feel totally shelled because I'm so busy. And I definitely got to that point. I was in an accident coming up on 2 years ago where I was put out of work for a few months, and prior to that, I found myself burning out. I mean, I had so many clients, and I was still putting forth the effort and felt like I was connecting with people, but I was just go, 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 go. I was hustling. I was hustling, and I was making a ton of money. But it was like, I didn't know where it was because I was so busy. I was just spending it kind of mindlessly, and I was losing my love for the craft and focusing so much on how many people I can shove through the door and fit in my chair and do all these things that it was kind of my pandemic, It was a forced hard reset on what's important to me in the chair and behind the chair. And to me, like, my success has always been in how many people come to me and are like, love this. I love being here. rather than people coming in and just, having a ton of money in my pocket. That's not, obviously the money's great though.
Right.
But
absolutely.
I'm like, dang, I'm a greedy hoe. I'm like, give me the money.
Well, like I said, like money's great.
Yes.
And
I
it
get what
definitely
you
does.
mean.
It definitely does represent success in some ways, but my industry is kind of weird because it straddles the line of a business and a creative endeavor. So you have to figure out which side of that you want to lean more towards.
Yeah. I never thought about your accident coming at a time when you're burnt out.
Totally.
That is such a good example of, and I'm totally a believer of, if you don't stop doing something, the universe will make you stop.
100%.
Like,
That's exactly what happened.
I firmly believe that.
Just a big Chevy Cruze to put a pause on my life.
Literally. Like, yeah. I mean, there's so many things in my life where I'm like, I'm doing this and it's freaking great. And then all of a sudden the universe is like,
pause.
Bitch, you thought.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Important life lesson.
It is an important life lesson, completely.
It's a toughie.
Absolutely. So kind of usually at the end of every podcast that we do, we like to have a thing called yoga time.
Okay.
So
Strict
like
pose, huh?
in yoga class, it's like you do the class and then the teachers at the end is like, take 2 minutes, do whatever pose you want, and you can literally do whatever.
Okay.
So we like to give you like a 2-minute or 5-minute, however long you want, span of time at the end. If there's something we didn't talk about that you're really passionate about, if there's something that's been on your mind lately, if there's like a show on Netflix or something that you've been watching and you just want to like talk about it, literally anything you want, the floor is yours for the last couple minutes.
Okay, I'm going to say something kind of weird, but if you're into it, you're going to be like, hell yes.
Okay.
I feel
I'm
this.
so pumped.
I'm ready.
Okay, so since moving to Louisville, the thing that has been the coolest has been, and this is, if you don't get it, you don't get it, but the Murderinos page.
Oh my gosh.
So, so my grandma is actually a homicide. Well, she's now retired, but she was a homicide detective in Los Angeles, and so I feel
Grandma
like
Peggy, yo.
Grandma Peggy. And
legend.
so I feel
My
like I
boss.
was raised like loving true crime, which is so bizarre, especially because it was like when I was little, I was into it. And now that we have like My Favorite Murder and all these things that all these women are like, hell yes, we're here for this. We all are together and are wanting to web sleuth find these murderers. Carol Baskin did it, you know, all the things. When I moved to Kentucky, literally the first thing I did was post in the Louisville Murderinos page of like, hey guys, I'm moving here. If you guys do meetups or any, like, please let me know because I'm coming here with 0 friends. And dude, like, people responded. I got put into a book club by this lovely woman, Leslie. And the other day somebody posted like, we need a hairdresser, and people were posting my name. And I just think it's really kind of rad that this community exists, not just for like these 2 people that started this podcast, but for everybody else. And this is my first time ever experiencing it, you know, on like a needing to connect with other people level. And it's so rad.
It's so
and
rad.
I love that it's like a really common thing behind the chair too, to be like, so did you watch that thing on like the Delphi murders? Or, you know, like it's an easy, it's like the new way of being like, so when you think about the weather, you know,
It's like, hey, what's your favorite murder?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I love that.
Tell me if you also hate this person
talk
that
about-
murdered this person.
Let's talk about how hot Paul Holes is.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. You listen to Murder Squad this week.
Oh my gosh. That's such a good, I love that you brought that up because truly, and I post in there sometimes and it's like a girl that I haven't talked to for like forever in high school who I loved and we connected so much. She like commented and was like, oh my God, Lee, of course you're in this group.
I saw that.
And I have it with another girl that I went to college with named Alyssa. She was like, oh my God, Lee.
But it's
Hello?
the thing, it like goes beyond that page, right? Like
Yeah.
it's that, you know, someone sits down in my chair and they're like, oh yeah, I'm really into true crime. And I'm like, dude, my world just opened up. Let's Aladdin this entire thing. I will show you a whole new world of, it's really cool. So I think it's kind of nice that that's been my like introduction and being easy to connect with people. It's been murder.
That's incredible.
Murder.
I wish that we could just go off the rails and do a Let's Hustle podcast that's all about Grandma Peggy.
Oh, Grandma Peggy, what a
Why
legend.
couldn't we?
Her, just like, I mean, just give the people like just a few like tiny examples of like the work that she has done and just like what she's been on and like what cases she's been on because it is unreal, like unbelievable.
Well, she's really cool, and you know, to be honest with you, she had swapped from homicide to to juvenile. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah,
like
both.
when I was starting to kind of really get into, you know, what she did for a living. And so I missed out on a lot of like her big cases. But one of the things I remember from being a little girl was that she had this piece of art in her house that was a lithograph. And it was painted by a woman who had been murdered by she was an elderly woman who had been murdered by like two terrible people. And
How can you kill an old woman?
I know. She was like in her 80s. It was like really sad, and it was like very violent and terrible. And so my grandma had this piece of art in her house that was one of this woman's lithographs. So I do remember that. And then one of the things that's so morbid, and she'd probably get in trouble for this, but like she had case photos and like all the case files from the Burbank shootout, or the North Hollywood shootout, which was a bank robbery that happened in North Hollywood.
It's huge.
It's a
like
huge,
still talked
crazy
about.
thing. Yeah. And she had like the case files and all that stuff, and I just used to like sneak into like her den and like look at case files and stuff, and like not like so gruesome, like
Right.
but kind of gruesome, like
Right.
because I was just like, this is the coolest job. Like I would love to do this. This is so awesome.
Yeah.
And then kind of the most recent crazy thing in my like Grandma Peggy story is that she and a group of her girlfriends that are all detectives in one way or another in LAPD have this group. They call themselves the Desert Madness Ladies, and they go on these crazy like rager trips to Vegas together. She's be so mad at me for saying this, but it's true.
Don't listen
And
to
they
this.
have the don't listen, Peggy. And they have these like nicknames and all. Like it's just, it looks like fun. It looks like if you, and my grandma's really young, by the way. Like I'm sure you're envisioning like a gray haired woman. My grandma's like in her early 60s. She's a baby. But so she would go on these trips, and one day one of their best friends who was on this trip, and she always gets mad when I call her best friend, but it's the truth, was arrested for murder for a cold case. Yeah. So my grandma's close friend, Stephanie Lazarus, was an art crimes detective with LAPD, and one day they asked her to come to the like county jail or whatever to answer some questions about a crime that she was working on. I did air quotes, like they were tricking her. And when she got there, they started asking her questions about the murder of this woman, Sherry Rasmussen.
Was there a movie, like a TV show on this?
So People Investigates just did an episode, and
I've
also
watched
Dateline
it.
just did it.
I effing watched it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So-
that name sounds
And there's
so...
a really good book. Like, there's a really good book called The Lazarus Files that if you like true crime, it's worth reading. But, they brought her in, and they started asking her questions about the murder of her high school hookup buddies, or college hookup buddies' wife, who had gotten murdered 23 years prior.
Shot. Full body chills.
Yeah. And she got arrested, and she's in jail. And I was like, what? Like, Stephanie? This is so bizarre.
What did your grandma say about it?
Oh, my grandma's like so just blown away. I think there's a big part of her that, you know, when I'm like, your friend, she's like, she's not my friend. I think it's because there's like a slight bit of betrayal there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you're a
especially
cop,
if
there's like a
you're
lot of honor in
yeah.
that. And I think, you know, if you're a good cop and you're doing the right things, like you expect everybody else to be doing the same. And so when someone is a fucking murderer,
Right.
then
it
you're
wasn't
like,
even like an accident.
then
It
it
was
feels like it was very calculated. I mean, it was a
Yes.
crime of passion, but she went there and
She
killed
was
her.
fully aware of what she was doing.
And so I think it feels like a betrayal personally, as well as like a betrayal in your career. And so none of them, I mean, ever talked again. I mean, they all stopped talking to her. And this year, on their Desert Madness trip, because it's an annual thing, they've been doing it. I think this year was like the 17th year they've been doing it.
That's amazing.
And none of them talked to her. She's at Chowchilla Women's State Prison in California. And they sent her a postcard from Vegas that just said, Desert Madness lives on. And that's it. It's the first time. Oh my God. So that's my fun fact. But it's kind of crazy. She's like a badass. I remember when I was younger, she had like an ID that wasn't her, but it was her image because she worked Vice. Like she did undercover for a minute. So it was kind of like, she's freaking cool.
I want to be her.
I
That
know.
is so awesome.
Yeah, she's real fun.
Dude.
I
Yeah.
love that.
She's tough.
That's so funny. I think I literally commented that on the Murderino page.
You did. You were like, ask her about her grandma Peggy.
Ask her about Peggy. Oh,
That's
gosh.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yay.
I think we should do like a monthly murder mystery with Peggy's
It's gonna
granddaughter.
go off the rails. We're just gonna be like,
throw it
let's
out there.
hustle, sales and business, also murder.
So many of my clients in LA have, like, who work for true crime things, and I have a client who produced damn it, what's the show? It's in Washington, D.C. Some sort of murder show. I can't remember, but it was on, Discovery ID. And he wanted to talk to her. He was like, can I talk to your Grandma Peggy? Would you connect us? Blah, blah. And my Grandma Peggy's so weird about it. I'm like, you should talk to this person. Like, it's not some guy who's creating, like, smut TV. He does, like...
For sure.
Falsely Accused and, like, big shows.
Right.
And he was like, I'd love to talk to her about, just anything she has to say as, like, or use her as a resource. And she was like, no, I'm okay. I don't do that. I'm retired. I'm like, you're boring.
Yeah, that's
what happened to you? You lost your edge.
Yeah, you're retired, so now you can talk about it.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
not working on them
you're
anymore.
Free. Just say whatever you want. Go off the rails.
Oh my gosh.
She could be the female Paul Holes.
No one could be anything like Paul Holes.
I love that man.
Magnificent.
I would die for him, and I'd hope he'd investigate my murder. Oh my god.
What a time to be alive.
What a time. Well, Kayleigh, thank you so much for being on the pod today.
This was kind of cool.
This was amazing.
Never thought it'd happen.
Yay! I'm so happy that it did.
Yes,
awesome.
That was great.
Well, again, you can follow Kayleigh on Instagram at Kayleigh Irene Hair. We'll tag her, obviously, in our Instagram post, and we'll put her handle in the comments. She is currently now back up and taking clients starting June 2nd.
Yeah.
Correct?
So excited.
At Crescent Haircraft. They're on Frankfurt Avenue, over kind of near Crescent Hill and St. Matthews, kind of where they meet each other. Look up Crescent Haircraft. And yeah, we'll see you back next week for another amazing episode of Let's... Did I cover everything? Is that where everyone can find you? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was like, did I say
Kayleigh Irene Hair.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.